Hello and a very warm welcome to another edition of Channels Beam. I'm Victor Matthias. Now, the introduction of information and communication technologies into the electoral process has generated both interest and concern among voters as well as election monitoring bodies across the globe. Now, while some have shared optimism that it is the way to go, others have raised concerns over the vulnerabilities that can be explored therein. On the program today, we will take a look at the potential ways technology can shape the coming elections, from advances in blockchain to big data analysis. We will take a deep dive into what changes are on the horizon for Nigeria's democratic process. But before we begin, let's take a breather and see what made the trends in the past week.
Nigeria's apex court was on the minds of many Nigerians after it gave a verdict affirming the Senate President Ahmed Lawan as a valid candidate for Yobe North Senatorial District in the forthcoming general elections, despite Mr. Lawan not contesting in the May 28th primary, but a fresh one conducted on 9th of June 2022. The apex court continued its trend after it granted the prayer sought by Kaduna, Zamfara and Kogi states to restrain the federal government from implementing the February 10th deadline for the owed 200, 500 and 1,000 naira notes stop being legal tender. Residents of Ogun State capital took to the streets to protest the hardship being faced as a result of scarcity of the desired naira notes and biting fuel scarcity. Bonfires, roadblocks were seen mounted in several areas of the city as they call on the federal government to solve the lingering situation. This is coming barely days after residents of neighboring Ibadan, the Oyo State capital, also led a similar protest where property worth millions were destroyed. It was worldwide solidarity as an earthquake hit Turkey, destroying properties and killing thousands. People prayed for the casualties of the unfortunate incident and also prayed for the rescue of those trapped in the rubble.
Well, there you go. Those were the trends. We are now joined by Itoro Laine. She is a data science and analytics manager based in the UK and a big advocate for tech for good and is always looking for ways to use technology to solve societal problems. Itoro, it's a pleasure to have you on the program today.
Thank you very much. Good to be here.
So good to have you. So, I mean, let's begin with what technologies can be used in the coming elections to better the process that we have currently.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing I absolutely have to say is that it is great that there is the introduction of ICT into the electoral process, because that just helps to make things a lot easier and a lot more transparent. So there's lots of ways that lots of applications we can use. One of the things you mentioned there in your intro was about blockchain, and whilst this has been talked about a lot, there's the tendency to kind of look at the next great big thing, but there's lots of other things that we can implement as well that are actually quite easy to do and don't cost us much, that could be also quite effective.
Yeah, very well. So yeah, blockchain. I mean, it's good that you picked up blockchain. A lot of people will be thinking, in what way can blockchain be deployed? Because when you talk about transparency and you talk about blockchain, they pretty much kind of move, hand in hand. So how can that be deployed, when the time comes during this election?
Yeah. So as you said, yes, that's a really good thing to kind of aid the electoral process in terms of bringing that transparency, because everybody can see what's actually going on. It's open, it is accessible and everything. But one of the things I want to also talk about is that we can achieve this type of things using different ways. And some of the things that some example is we can make things a bit more open and accessible for everyone to see. So an example is one of the things that I've done is say create a WhatsApp bot, and the idea is, if everybody kind of put into it what they have observed or what they have seen during the elections in terms of who has won in their local um, polling
Polling unit.
unit. Exactly. If we can aggregate all this information, if we can pull it all into one, if we can aggregate it and kind of open it up for everybody to also see it, view it, and kind of make some inferences, on this. This also is another way we can bring that transparency into everything. So it's going back to, we don't always have to aim for the next kind of great big thing, the expensive thing, or the tech that is far out there. There's things we can do right here and right now. Yeah.
Speaking about right now, I mean, the elections are pretty much, right at our doorstep. So, when you talk about people, uploading the data that they pick from, their polling units, and all of that, you need to corroborate that data with what is obtainable, in terms of, say, the number of persons that registered, that voted. In terms of that, what can be found out there? Like, what are the statistics that we have? What data have you analyzed, so to speak, now, from what is obtainable, on INEC's website in terms of, registration, say, be it by region or
Yeah.
by states, what have you found?
Yeah, absolutely. So there is some information that INEC has, kind of kindly put out there. So, we can see, who is who is eligible for a voter's card, who's in a few weeks' time. I think we will get the exact number of voters card that have been collected. And then obviously after the elections, we will see that kind of voter turnout. And these trends are really exciting and really interesting to see, especially if you've been looking at them over like the last few elections, so we can see where there is great differences between different parts of the country in terms of things like voter turnout. So for example, we know that the Southeast always has the lowest voter turnout. We know that the last elections overall, the voter turnout was a lot less proportionally in comparison to the election prior to that. So there's all these trends going on that can kind of start to make us give us some insight as to what is actually going on, but also makes it more exciting to see how is that trend going to look this time around. Is this time around going to look like what we've always seen, or are things going to change? We talked about earlier with the ICT, with the introduction of
The BVAS.
of BVAS, exactly. How will the number of votes look this time round? That's not clear. But one thing we can do, one thing with the kind of app that I've done is, even though we don't know what we're expecting it to be, if people send that information in, at least we have a good idea of what's happening on what is happening out there in the real world. And we have a method then to kind of compare what the electorate are kind of saying to us. This is what we observed um, at our polling
Units.
at units. Thank you. Versus what INEC then say to us officially later down the line. So it's just another way to kind of sense check, what we get officially. And I think that's great. And this is what we want to start to see in terms of, can we bring some transparency? Can we start to sense check things? Can we start to put things in place that gives us that confidence that, what we hear officially is actually what happened?
Yeah. So pretty much this is kind of like a collaboration, you know, between that's the electoral umpire as well, you know, as civil society. But you know, you've been talking about this app, but I don't think you've done like a deep dive. How does it work? How do people, you know, sending, so to speak, now, you know, their data from their polling unit? How does that work? Quickly before we go.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's really very easy. There is a WhatsApp phone number, and all you need to do is send the message to that WhatsApp phone, that
Number.
phone number. It then interacts with you to kind of find out where you are in terms of your LGA, your ward, and then finally your polling
Unit.
unit. And once we get there, then the next thing it just asks is, okay, what was the number of votes that say the APC um,
Candidate.
um, candidates got, or NNPP or PDP or whatever? You know, it asks you all this, and you just need to enter that information in, because at the end of the elections, the INEC officials, they always count those votes in front of every in front
Buddy.
of everybody. Exactly. So everybody should know what that number is, and all we're saying is just send that to us. There's a number. I haven't got the number off the top of my head, but it's, if anybody wants to know a bit more, please, they can follow me on Twitter. My handle is at Liney not um, at Liney not Linny, or just type my name in,
Yeah.
and yeah, all the information will be there.
Okay, so lastly, how would you rate? I mean, because we've seen the introduction of technology, you know, in like some of the elections that, you know, that took place not alongside the general elections. So say in Oshun, you know, and some other states, you know, how would you rate the rate at which technology was deployed in those elections?
So yeah, I think there's always, you know, room for improvement, but I think the great thing is it's something that we are really starting to think about. It's something that we are really starting to deploy, to use, and it's only, you know, it's only going to improve from here on. So whilst things may not be ideal right now, perfect, we still have, you know, room to improve, and I think that's the encouraging thing that we need to take away from all of this.
Well, like you said, there's still room for improvement. So, yes, let's pray that, you know, that improvement comes in as soon as possible, so that technology, like is aiding other sectors, can aid our electoral process, and of course, give us the needed result, you know, at the appropriate and appointed time. But I have to say thank you to you for joining us, Electoral Liney, for sharing your thoughts as well as your intellectual property, you know, on the show today. Thank you once again for being a part of the program.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Many thanks for staying with us. We are now being joined by Lawal Abdullahi. He is the Uzabe analyst for Connected Development. It's a pleasure to have you on the program.
The pleasure is all mine. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon once again. Yeah, so pretty much, I mean, you know, looking at how technology is aiding these elections, we've heard so much about Uzabe, but, you know, we're not sure as to how it's going to work. So where are we heading to, or where is it going to lead us?
Okay. Well, for us at Connected Development, we have a culture of working with people and not just people using technology. For the forthcoming elections, 2023 general election, Connected Development will be deploying Uzabe platform, where we will have people reporting into the platform with the use of technology.
Yeah, so when you talk about reporting now, what kind of reporting are we looking at? Are we looking at electoral result reporting? Are we looking at security reporting? Are we looking at, what kind of reporting are we looking at?
For us at Connected Development, what concerns about the processes, electioneering process. Well, one, of course, for every election to be successful or to be deemed successful, We'll rely on the security agencies to provide adequate security, so we'll be monitoring security, and also to be able to give feedback to security agencies on where they need to look into. We're looking at also fake news, the issue of fake news, misinformation, disinformation. We'll be fact-checking a lot of information that will be flying on during the course of the election. We'll be looking at electoral processes, such as the polling unit issues that might arise around the polling units, and also positive events.
Yeah. So how is this usable? You know, what's the what's it called? What's the use case analysis so far?
Okay, let me take you through this. This will be the fourth time to say, but third in Nigeria that will be deploying this solution. It's called Usabe. It's also one of the solution partnered with Ushaidi to develop. We've had feedbacks from people who have been using the solution for quite some time, and the feedback has really been encouraging. And this has enabled us to, or this has motivated us to continue to develop on this solution. For the 2023 general election, what we have is we'll be having more people are going to be using the solution to get information and as well give information as regards to the election and the processes.
Yeah. When you say more people now, are you talking about the electorates, or you're talking about
Yes,
people
sir.
you work with?
Okay, no. Well, just to explain this, the people we work with, we have over 7,000 observers on the field who will be feeding us with credible information. We have the general public that will be giving us their sample opinions.
Mm-hmm.
And as well, we'll have the security agencies who will also be looking at all of these informations as they come in to be able to look at security information from different dimensions and from other public opinions.
Oh, I see. So pretty much you're not just working by yourself, you're collaborating as well, you know, with security agencies. Correct me if I am wrong.
Of course, we're going to be collaborating with all the security agencies, like the name connotes, connected development. We work with people using cutting-edge technology.
Well, that makes sense. Any form of collaboration with INEC itself?
Well, for INEC, we have observers. We're just observers. INEC, we're just observing the election.
Oh, fantastic. Well, let's hope that, you know, this will be deployed properly, and of course the desired the desired results, you know, would be gotten at the tail end of everything. But I have to say thank you to you for joining us today on the program and sharing your thoughts. Abdullahi Lawal, thanks again.
Thank you.
Sure. Well, that's where we are. We hope that all of the technologies that would be deployed during the elections would function as well as they should, so that the desired results would be achieved at the tail end of the day. Thank you so very much for watching. I'm Victor Matthias. Would now leave you with the most viewed videos on our YouTube channel in the past week.
Presidential candidate of the APC, Senator Bola Tinubu, launching the broom revolution during a campaign in Kwara State, kicks off this week's most viewed videos in 5th place.
You don't vote for anybody else. You vote for me.
Jagaban! It is followed by the announcement made by the CBN Governor, Godwin Emefiele, over the deadline extension of swapping the new Naira notes.
A 7-day grace period beginning on February 10 to February 17, 2023, in compliance with Section 20, Subsection 3 and Section 22 of the CBN Act, allowing Nigerians to deposit their old notes at the CBN after the February deadline, when the old currency would have lost its legal tender status.
Third spot sees the rally held in Kano State by the presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Mr. Peter Obi.
We will ensure the enemy, the criminals are not stronger than government. we will have one government, and they will not have space in it. We will secure Nigerians. We will unite Nigeria.
And the drama and dance performance by Senator Dino Melaye during the PDP rally in Delta takes the second spot.
People are blaming the governor of the central bank.
While the top spot is taken by the allegation of Kaduna State Governor Nasir El-Rufai that elements in the presidential villa are working against the success of the APC at the 2023 polls.
I believe that there are elements in the villa that want us to lose the elections because they didn't get their way. They had their candidate. Their candidate didn't win the primaries. And I think they are still trying to get us to lose the election.